It was a snowy night in Boston, January 29th, 2022. So this happened in January of 2022. Okay. Karen Reed and her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, who is a Boston cop, as you said, they were out drinking at a bar called the Waterfall.
Okay.
At one point, they leave to go to a house party. Karen drops off John there. The party is at the Albert household. Okay. Brian Albert is a retired police sergeant. He had also been at the bar. So all of these people were drinking heavily. Like, we're talking like 7 drinks in 2 hours kind of drinking. Mm-hmm. So people are intoxicated.
Been there.
According to Karen Reed, she drops John off at the Albert household for this after party, after get together, if you will. Karen goes home, leaves John there. She wakes up early, realizes that John is not home. She freaks out. He doesn't answer his phone. She recruits the help of 2 friends to go look for him. They find his body in a snowbank outside the Albert household.
Okay.
The official cause of death is blunt force trauma to the head and hypothermia. It's the hypothermia that really got him. Like, there's something in his pancreas that shows, like, this man died from being left out in the cold. So Karen Reed is accused of having hit John when she dropped him off. This is the prosecution. They claim that she was very drunk. She did a 3-point turn and backed up going 24 miles per hour. It's pretty fast for backing up on a 3-point turn. 24 miles per hour, hitting John while backing up, driving away, leaving him to die in the snow. Everybody at the house party claims that John never came inside to the party.
Okay.
They say that they saw him and Karen pull up in their car, but never came in, and they just assumed that they went home. The prosecution also claims that the taillight of Karen's car was busted, and that pieces of it were later found outside the Alberts' home. Keep that in mind.
Okay.
They say that the pieces of the taillight were also found in John's clothes and that his DNA was found on the bumper of the car. 2 witnesses claim, after she discovered the body the next morning, that Karen kept yelling, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." Doesn't sound great for Karen, right?
Right.
Sounds awful for Karen. Seems straightforward.
Yep.
You are mistaken.
Okay.
There are like 30 people involved in this case. Many of them are law enforcement or former law enforcement. Most of them are connected to each other either by marriage, family, friends. All of them are friends, buddies, pals with the lead investigator of the case. Okay. The lead investigator of the case, his sister, is good friends with a man named Chris Albert.
Okay.
Albert you would recognize as the last name of the household they were at the night of John's death. Chris Albert is Brian Albert's brother, also a cop. Chris Albert's wife is friends with the sister of the investigator. They were all at the house where John was found dead. Okay. Chris Albert, his wife, is friends with Brian's wife. So these are the Albert households. Mm-hmm. It makes sense. You're friends with your, brother's wife, whatever. Yeah. They're friends with a woman named Jen McCabe. And this is an important key factor in this because she is one of the biggest key witnesses in this entire case. The lead investigator has a massive conflict of interest, right? You would think.
Of course, he was at the party.
He says he wasn't at the party.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't at the party. Okay. His wife's friend was at the party.
Okay.
Not at the party, but he claimed to not have any conflict of interest in this and went on as the lead investigator. His name is Michael Proctor. He also sent some really nasty texts about Karen. Like right after this went off, he called her the C word. He said that she was hot but didn't have a butt. And he said that she was guilty.
Wow, Michael,
he seems like a real not great guy. And this was just after 16 hours after they discovered the body. So within 16 hours of being found, he's texting his friends like, this woman is guilty.
Okay.
We're going to get her. He had only talked to 3 witnesses at the time, all of them, of course, being members of this like interwoven web of friends. They had never gone inside the household, not once. And they had never cleared off the crime scene. Like they had never officially cleared it off as this crime scene is being investigated. Okay. Reed's defense insists that this investigator is a big part of her being framed.
Okay.
All of the people in the house were allowed to get together and chit-chat. Like, no one was sequestered off from one another, so they could all get their stories straight at some point. The neighbor of Brian Albert, who is also a cop, his Ring camera footage mysteriously not working overnight, but was working when they went back and found John's body. So for some reason overnight, when this accident would have taken place, no Ring camera footage, but when they found the body, there is footage of them finding it. Remember the taillight pieces? I told you to remember the taillight pieces. They weren't found until the day after they found the body. In fact, the scene having never been properly closed off as a crime scene and secured, was open for people to just walk around and do whatever they wanted to do with it at any given time. 35 pieces of taillight were found over several weeks, none of them the day of. Now, granted, there was a lot of snow. It was a big snowstorm, heavy amounts of snow. The taillight fragments on the clothes, the lead investigator had just let that evidence hang out in his office for a week before turning it in. At best, like, the negligence of the handling of evidence in this case is high. They used solo cups to collect blood.
Wow.
They used a leaf blower to try to find evidence in the snow. Like, just fire that puppy up, try to run it around. The DNA on the bumper that was found, one single strand of hair.
Okay.
Just one. There is also video of Karen when she left to go drive to try to find John around 5 a.m. The taillight is still intact in that video. And once Karen was accused of this murder, her car is taken into something called the Sally Port at the police station. And this matters because there's video of some of these police officers hanging around this car for hours. Plus, some video is missing from the time that they were there. Like 40 minutes of video is just missing from the time of this car sitting in the Sally Port. And the prosecution during the trial showed a video trying to prove that the officers were hanging around like the opposite side of the car. They inverted the video. So the side that they were actually hanging out was the side of the proclaimed busted taillight, but they made it look like they were just standing around the other side of the car. They claim it's a coincidence and it was just an accident in how the video was. To continue going with this, I don't know if Karen Reed did this or not, but the prosecution has not done a very good job of making one 100% believe. There is a lot of reasonable doubt being left. And if that's not enough reasonable doubt for you...
Give me the cell phone. Yeah, the cell phone info. That's what got me.
Wait. Okay. You might be stuck on her saying, like, I hit him, right? This is all going to get to the cell phone. She says she was in a state of shock and was more asking, did I hit him? Did I hit him?
Yeah.
Which would make sense when you're in a state of shock. Your boyfriend just died.
Yeah, if you think you accidentally killed your boyfriend, you're not like...
And she was drunk, and you'd be concerned about that. Perhaps that happened.
Yeah.
So within the police report from that day, it never says that she hit him, or said that she hit him.
Okay.
It has one of the witnesses, Jen McCabe, who I told you was the key witness in all of this. In her 200-page jury interview for the grand jury, she never says that Karen said that she hit him. She only recently changed her story to say that she is one of the witnesses who remembers Karen saying, I hit him. And this is the first cell phone zinger at 2:27 a.m., Bennett. 2:27 a.m. Jennifer McCabe Google searched, how long does it take to die in the snow?
Case closed. That's all I need to hear.
How long does it take to die in the snow? She claims it was a glitch. And the prosecution claims that...
A glitch?
A glitch. So the claim is that she actually Googled that around 6, and the phone data just got scrambled, and it makes it seem that she did it at 2:27 a.m., but then the defense's technology expert came in and said that's impossible. Like, she searched at 2:27 a.m. That is one of the biggest keys that they are hanging on to from the defense side of things. Like, that in itself is just reasonable doubt beyond belief. She also deleted like 30 calls that night.
Yep.
One of them was to the investigator's wife, and they also had records of talking multiple times throughout that evening. She also claims that she saw Karen leave at 12:45, but that would be impossible because Karen connected to John's Wi-Fi back at the house at 12:37. Then we get into the Albert household. They also deleted a ton of calls. Brian Albert is friends with this other guy, Brian Higgins, two Brians, and Brian Higgins had sent a handful of flirty text messages to Karen Reed, so they might have been having a little something. Like, there was trouble in paradise in the relationship of Karen and John, and like there were accusations that John was cheating on her, and there are these texts with her and this Brian Higgins character. But Brian Albert and Brian Higgins deleted their entire call logs from that night once it was clear that they were going to have to turn their phones over. The Alberts, where this house party or gathering was held, they remodeled their house after this incident, particularly their basement, and they sold their home. They sold their home where this all happened. They also got rid of their dog. And you might be thinking, what does a dog have to do with all of this? Well, when John died, he had all of these lacerations on his arm, and the prosecution claims that he was holding a glass when he got hit, and the glass fell and like cut his arm. But these are some deep cuts. The defense says that the dog might have attacked at some point as a result of some incident that happened within this household.
Yeah, okay.
The family got rid of their dog. Long-time dog, not a new dog, not a puppy.
Yep.
They had this dog. They rehomed their family dog following this incident after it looks like there was potential dog bites within this. And so there is all these deleted calls. There is the Googling of how long does it take for someone to die in the snow. There is the missing video footage at the Sallyport. And all that to say, there is a ton of reason why a jury would not be able to prove beyond reasonable doubt that Karen Reed murdered her now dead boyfriend. Now, I do not know. Like, I'm not into the TikTok weeds of the conspiracies, and like some have said they think that this is strictly hypothetical storytelling wise, but some believe that the Alberts might have been involved in some, particularly their son, some like bad behavior, like he's a known, I don't know, does incriminating behavior, and maybe John, also a cop, was interested in busting them for doing bad things, and then like he shows up to their house and they beat him up. There are also notable boxers in the local area.
Oh, so what it screams to me is they, like if you're just going to say, what do you think happened here? I would say they're at this party. Everybody's drunk as hell.
Yes.
Because you mentioned a lot of the alcohol was flowing. A confrontation happens. A fight happens, and he dies, and nobody meant to kill him.
That's what
but
it was an accident.
It was an accident, yeah, but he's dead, and we got to cover this up. That's what it screams to me.
Now, my brain, the problem is how would they know?
And we already hate his wife or his girlfriend.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And they
so
did go, there was this whole trip that they all took to, I believe, Aruba, where there was some trouble in paradise, where many of them were on this trip that the prosecution has mentioned in terms
There's
of like
a lot of
trying to paint the picture of
these
Karen
people.
and John not being, they'd been in a relationship for about 2 years. And there are texts that show some issues between them. Even that Brian Higgins, who I said was texting Karen, like he was at the bar that night and texted her at one point, hello, like insinuating that she wasn't talking to him at the bar. So it's messy. It's very messy. But why would they, or how would they know to pin it on her? That's where I get lost. That's where I just can't quite think of this like mastermind conspiracy where they're all sitting around and they're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make it seem like Karen hit him with her car.
I mean,
it seems complicated.
It does. That's a good point. I mean, but on the same time, these are police officers.
That's
I mean, they are used to investigating and seeing all kinds of different scenarios and how things play out and how things don't play out.
That's true.
You know?
And one of the people who found some of the shards of the taillight was just another local cop driving by one day, and he says, he's like, and I noticed
let me go take a look at
there was some taillight sitting on the ground. It's wild. Do you feel caught up?
I feel caught up. I'm excited. This is going to make an amazing movie.
I know.
This
Don't
is going
you
to
think,
make
though,
a great
at
movie.
this point, if she's convicted, I think there will be, like, revolts.
Yes.
There's just too much. It's for me, I cannot get past
I don't think
how
she'll get
long does it
convicted.
take to die in the snow.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised that the jury has now taken more than a day, if we're being honest, as someone who has been following this case since about April. But only in the last 3 weeks have I really allowed myself to. I don't even like true crime, but this is like the true crime for people who don't like true crime. It has every single.
Oh yeah. This is a movie. This is a movie. Yeah.
It feels like you're watching a real life movie, and I do feel terrible. The guy who died, he died, so that's awful. Obviously. A life lost. And he had 2 kids who weren't his children, but they were like his niece and nephew who he had taken in. So I feel really bad for those kids who now have to be. And it seems like this community is so interconnected. Like everyone knows everyone. So that has to be a very difficult thing. So that is your catch up.
Wow.
Jury began deliberations yesterday. Keep an eye out for what happens to Karen Reed.
The Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hart, live every weekday at 8 a.m.